Well, there's an asymmetry in science often between prediction and explanation. And this is a slightly different asymmetry, but it's the asymmetry between our ability to detect the activity of an agent and being able to understand how mental agency affects matter. No one has any idea about how mental agent, well, we may have ideas about it, but we do not have an adequate explanation of how mental agency affects matter. And that applies to divine agency and as well as human agency. You and I are communicating with each other using words right now, but we're actually modulating acoustic signals and sending them across a room. Our ears are picking them up. They're sending us a signal to our brains. Our brains are processing that, and somehow our minds are interpreting that signal, and we're understanding each other. All that was initiated by, in my case, a desire to communicate something to you. So my mind, through conscious deliberation, my mind of which I'm aware through direct introspective experience, has causal powers of which I'm aware, but I don't really know how the mental realm affects the physical. And so we can't really answer the question, well, how did God, we can see evidence of the activity of mind in an event like the Cambrian Explosion. For one thing, we have a massive increase in the amount of information in the biosphere in a fairly narrow window of time. And I think the increases of information are, in our experience, solely produced by mental agents. Therefore, we have evidence of mental agency in the history of life. That's a radical conclusion, but one I think that follows from the evidence and our knowledge of cause and effect. But going the other direction is difficult. We don't really know how, presuming it was the mind of God, how God's mind affected matter. The scripture uses metaphors like the Spirit of God brooded over the waters. Well, we don't get a full account.
Is it fair to say, I'm asking a leading question?
But I guess the payoff point there is that just because we don't know how mind affects matter in the forward direction, if the causal arrow is running in that direction, doesn't mean that we can't retrodict or detect the activity of mind in the reverse direction from the distinctive effects that we know only minds produce.